City Kickboxing is looking to make a statement. It's been a while since they had a showrunner. Carlos Ulberg, the Black Jag, he's looking to fill the void that Israel Adesanya and co. has left. Folks, we have a light heavyweight bout this weekend that has pivotal stakes right here. Realistically, the winner, if it's impressive, can challenge for the title next. Obviously, we'll see what UFC 320 between Alex Paeta and Magomed Ankalaev has to say, but we got some real stakes, some real implications. Folks, breaking it down with me, as always, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ, brother, another episode of the glorious Bloody Water podcast, of course. How are you feeling, man? We got violence at stake this weekend.
Violence at stake, Derick. You alluded to it. There's shakeups going on in the division and a lot of lesser known names on this card. And folks, you know what that means. More chances to win money for the hardcores out here. And if you ain't a hardcore, you're in luck because you're watching the right show, because we're about to make you some money as well.
That's right. I mean, we're going to Perth, right? You want to go on that side of the world right here. You're definitely going to have some local cats. Couple of even bookings that I was a little surprised. I was like, wow, they really made it onto the card. All right, fair enough. But folks, remember, number one contenders bout is going to be the talk of the town this episode. So stick around. We're going to give you our main event pick at the end. But before we do that, let's jump straight into a little bit of a recap. AJ, you actually had yourself a week, my friend. All right, listen, a lot of red on my side of the docket, so we'll turn over to you to start, brother. You hit on some good ones. I want to talk about the first two, Santiago Luna versus Kwang Lee. Some could say I was just taking a dog pick right there, but Luna looks sharp, bro. What'd you think about that one?
Bro, Luna looked sharp, and what did it for me, Derick, he got woken up, right? The first, 10, 15 seconds of the fight, Lee showed up, let him know he's no one to be trifled with, and I really think that lit a fire under Santiago Luna and showed him the kind of talent level he needs to exceed, right? Push himself past to be able to really make a statement in the UFC. Showed up his first night, did it, man. Cashed a big check. I'm excited to see this kid's future going forward, man.
We have a player in the division, 100% right there. Alexander Hernandez, man, he hasn't had the greatest run, right? It's been up and down. We saw it came like a burning start, big lows, but now we're back in action, man. Getting a win over Diego Ferreira, a finished victory over Diego Ferreira is super impressive, especially in a fight where, AJ, I can't lie to you, man. I thought Ferreira was piecing him up a little bit prior to the finish. That's the fight game right here. What's in stake for Alexander Hernandez? Really, my question is, what is the ceiling that you see given he's at this stage of his career?
Man, you asked that question last year. I'd say the ceiling is a lot lower, right? Right now, with how Hernandez is fighting and the poise he showed, because really, I think the poise in that fight, the confidence he has being a veteran in the game, got him that win, put him in the right place to get the finish. If he stays to that, sticks to that, and stays with the fight team he's with, man, they are going to be making moves. And I'm not ready to say gold is the ceiling for Hernandez yet, but that top five is looking to be calling his name right now.
I think he's going to be a really good gatekeeper. You know what I mean? I think he'll be one of those guys that is if you pass that test right there, now we're talking gold still. I mean, we can't rule it out for sure. You did beat a 40-plus-year-old Diego Ferreira, so impressive kind of, right? But that is a good name right there for sure. All right, man. Kelvin Gastelum missed weight by 5 pounds and he got the dub. We're just going to look past that because you shouldn't get your name praised after an egregious weight miss like that. Jared Gordon, AJ, really all that I want to talk about right here is he ended up getting flatlined by Rafa Garcia, but then it came out that he got hit by a car the day before the fight and popped his knee, but didn't want to pull out because there's just bad outlooks and all that. He ended up getting finished. Big loss right here in a fight that a lot of people thought he was going to win. I'm pretty sure he did close as a favorite in this one. Just tell me, brother, do you at that stage of his career, is that the right play? Or do you pull out the day of the fight, the day before the fight, when they gave you a massive main card opportunity? Do you pull out to preserve getting a flatline KO? Because the memory is only going to look back and say, oh yeah, you got knocked out by Rafa Garcia.
Yeah, Derick. I mean, I think it comes down to a personal play right there. Where's your money situation? How are you looking going through, different aspects? But as far as the career and your health and longevity, I say you pull out, right? And that's a hard thing to say, especially now in the way the UFC is. Dana White and the UFC brass are not keeping people around that are company men, and few and far between, right? You start missing weight, you start having underperformances, you start canceling fights, you're out the door a lot quicker than you used to be in the past. So that's why I said the career move, I'm with Jared Gordon. You do the fight, you do it, you wear the little knee brace, right? Everybody was concerned about as to why. And it is what it is in Fold. And like you said earlier for the last fight, that's the fight game, man. That's just how it goes sometimes. And it does suck because I agree. It was a great fight. Either a very close fight until Garcia was able to actually shut him down.
Yeah. I mean, some would say Jared Gordon made himself a business decision, if you will, right there. And listen, the result is the result. I just say that, damn, look, that's where we are as a sport, right? Where it's like, man, like I can't put on my best performance because of whatever financial issues. I don't want to get blackballed after this, and things like that. So that one was a big win for Rafa Garcia. Let's just say that. Excuse me. David Martinez probably got the biggest win on the night aside from the main event victor right there. You beat Rob Font. You got a decision victory right here. It was a high-paced co-main event. Listen, David Martinez, nothing but up from here. Rob Font, I don't really got much to say on it, but impressive win nonetheless, right?
Impressive win, man. Speed and moments won the fight for Martinez. I mean, that was exactly what you needed to do at the time he needed to do it. Sad look for Rob Font, but I agree with you, Derick. Not much else to be said, and I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of storylines coming from the Font corner anytime soon.
That's it. But to cap us off, the most important part, Diego Lopez, he gets a finish victory, man, in an instant classic, some would say, man. Legitimately spinning elbows everywhere, violence everywhere, blood, mounted elbows, mounted everything. Listen, this was a really, really fun fight. I personally believe, I'm just going to say this, if they fought 10 times, I think John Silva probably wins like 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 times. I think a composed John Silva will be a champion in this division, but Diego Lopez reigns the day. You can't take away the victory right there, but John Silva did look good even in the loss. What'd you think?
I was going to agree with you, Derick. I don't know if I'd go 8 times, but either one of those fighters could have won that fight that night. It was John Silva's moment, and I agree with you, actually, man. A composed, a still mean, still aggressive, but calculated John Silva is a very dangerous fighter, and I could see gold in his future for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, all due respect to Diego Lopez, because he just showed more overall poise. He showed the serious advantage that he had in the top grappling perspective. But I just think of John Silva, who sticks to a game plan and doesn't do spinning things, you know what I mean? Opportunities to get your back taken. I mean, listen, man, he was walking him down. He was piecing him up. Again, the featherweight division, exciting division right there. That is your Noche UFC recap for the main card, but let's take a look at the actual score. AJ, as you can see, you got a substantial lead. I would say 80 and 42, 65%. I'm at 76 and 46, so I've dropped down to 62. Listen, folks, 70 is the goal, but we're above 60. And your favorite capper, your favorite picks person online on YouTube, I have a hard time believing they're probably hovering around 50, right? So just keep that in mind. The Bloody Water Podcast, we got you covered right here. Let's take a quick preview to the UFC Perth prelims, but not just like any random card or a random fight, I should say, on the prelims. One that's going to be a banger, one that's going to be what we like to call here on the Bloody Water Podcast, Sleeper of the Week.
Time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
I told you early, folks, there's some lesser known names right here, and these are 2 of them, but don't pay attention to the spelling. Pay attention how these boys fight. We got Brandon Pericic versus Alicia Ellison in the heavyweight division, folks. I know you don't know any of them, so I'm just gonna go for it. Pericic, classic heavyweight mauler, man. He's gonna walk you down. He's looking to get control, beat you up, and the big question is, will that strategy work now in the big show, man? You're fighting. I don't want to, be offensive, but you're fighting cans everywhere else. Now it's time for the real deal. And Alicia Ellison, man, he is also very, very dangerous, explosive, very athletic striking, KO power in the hand, and he likes to let them fly whenever he's in the pocket. So this is going to be a very, very fun fight right here, folks. Here's what you need to know. Fresh blood in the heavyweight division, 9 combined finishes in 11 combined fights between these two. 7 of those are KOs in the first round, all right? Expect action, expect violence. This is a sleeper because it is time someone made a massive statement in the UFC and inserted themselves into the shaky future of the heavyweight division. Plus, I'm expecting a very fast-paced, very violent fight out of these two, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you tune in.
And there you have yourself a sleeper right there, folks. These are the most fun fights because your expectations are hardly there, and you got 2 unknowns that are looking to showcase. This is not a UFC Apex card right here. This is in Perth. They're going to show out. They're going to be ready to go. All right, man. That is your sleeper. AJ, let's go ahead and let's break down the main card right here.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
And we're going to start off from the bottom, work our way up to the top of the card. So, folks, again, stick around for the main event picks because we got you locked here. Remember, Ulberg versus Reyes. But let's start off, man, with some lightweights, some fun lightweights here. Tom Nolan versus Charlie Campbell. AJ, I told you before, I was really big on Charlie Campbell on his Dana White Contender Series debut. He ended up losing the fight, but still in impressive fashion. Impressive enough fashion where you got yourself a contract, and now you find yourself two fighters coming off of a 3-fight win streak. The winner likely is going to earn like a fringe top 20, top 30 fight, I would imagine, a booking of that caliber. And the loser is probably just you're stuck. You're relegated on these prelims. It is what it is. What do you like about these fighters, man? What stands out to you about this matchup?
Ooh, Derick. I mean, I think what stands out to me most about this matchup is these fighters are fighting so early in the career. I'm expecting rematches from this one here in the future, Derick, because both of them are very, very talented. In fact, when I looked at this card, at least at the start, I was leaning a little Tom Nolan, but doing more research, I can see how both fighters have a path to win on each side, right? You got Nolan, long strikes, like to mix it up, very, very well-rounded as well, and creative kicks whenever you're able to give him some space. And what I like most about Campbell, this man has pressure, brother. Very technical, hits hard, good takedown defense. Both of them are well-rounded, but they have, like I said, distinctive ways in which they can actually go about and implement their game.
And both of these guys are finishers, man. 86% finish rate between the two fighters right here. I think it's very simple. Charlie Campbell needs to close the distance, and he needs to be a boxer puncher in this fight, realistically. Tom Nolan, he has a lot of weapons at his disposal. Tall southpaw, step-in knees, elbows, kicks, whatever the case may be. So that's really going to be the battle right here, range management. Can Charlie Campbell put that pressure on without getting caught with something, right? When I take a look at like the most used weapons, generally speaking, I think Charlie Campbell is going to implement that calf kick, brother. Let's talk about that. If you want to beat Tom Nolan, you have to take away his mobility, right? You have to take his ability to move away. That way you could pressure in, you can close that distance with far less consequences, right? I think he can do it. I think Charlie Campbell, I'll just say this. We didn't even talk about the odds right here. Let's talk about the opening odds right here. FanDuel exclusive right here, minus 162 for Tom Nolan, plus 126 for Charlie Campbell. Not the biggest dog in the world, not the biggest favorite, but I think there is some live money coming on Charlie Campbell this way. It's just a matter of how disciplined can you be, how often can you stay in that pocket without getting hit by something big, because the check right hook that Tom Nolan has to offer, it could be some problems right here. So that's pretty much how I see it. I think that there's going to be not really too much grappling in this matchup, but who's the better kickboxer and or boxer? How you see it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Derick. My thing is who's going to have the moments when they're hitting harder, when they get the more oohs and the ahs, and then who does that at a higher clip. That's really going to be the thing, because both fighters are going to have their moments, right? They're both very, very talented and have a good way to offset each other. So it's whoever's the one, kind of like how we were watching last week with Rob Font versus Martinez, man. The more big moments you have, that's who's going to win this fight. And I think that's why the odds makers have this one very, very close. And even a lot of the props are looking a little different up here, man. So it's interesting to see how the future is going to go with this one right here.
Yeah. I mean, let's take a quick look here. Let me see where we got Tom Nolan at. I'll go ahead and I'll pull up all of our props. All right, man. So let's see what we got. All right. Tom Nolan knockout plus 210. Charlie Campbell knockout plus 300 points, plus 275 for Nolan, plus 450 for Campbell. I mean, they're liking Nolan here. They're liking. I don't see a submission coming into play, but I do see a knockout coming into play if Charlie Campbell can punch with Tom Nolan. Orthodox southpaw matchup right here. If you punch with him, I think he can catch him, because Tom Nolan, being as tall as he is, has a little bit of a problem of hanging that chin just in the air. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem for all really tall, lengthy fighters who have to stop somebody from coming under, man. The best way to come up is through that chin. It's automatically high because they're tall. So this is interesting, because you hit the nail on the head, Derick. Plus 200, at least what I'm looking over here on FanDuel. Both the Tom Nolan and the Charlie Campbell knockouts are the best odds that people, or at least odds makers, think are going in. And I was looking at the over-under, man. It's a 1.5. It's close to a minus money for the over, but it's like minus 154 on FanDuel. So a lot of people think this fight is going to be kind of that classic washing machine, like a fire fights fire one right here. I don't know. Wait, are you leaning towards one specific odd or not?
You know, I think that we're going to see a finish here. I think we might see a late finish. So I would take under 2.5 rounds personally, if I'm taking a look at this one. And again, if we're looking at it here, I'm just going to use Bet Online just for the sake of the argument right here. minus money is under 2.5 rounds right there. I think minus 160 is like a touch steep. It's a touch steep, but when you have such a high finish rate between these two and two dudes with this fight style, that's how I like to see it right there. My play is going to be Tom Nolan on this one. I like the taller southpaw fighter who just has a couple more weapons. I think Charlie Campbell has really no choice but to just try to cut the distance and box with him. Tom Nolan can play the outside game, hit and not get hit. And if he plays smart enough, we got a victor right there. How you seeing it, AJ?
I'm rolling with the dog, Charlie Campbell. I think he's going to get on the inside, beat up those legs like Derick's talking about, and make this a very dirty fight. Because one of the ways, especially lately, how the UFC judging has been going, you need to be putting action in, and Charlie Campbell's about that action. I'm going money line for him, though, because any odds you take him, it's going to be working.
And let's just see how these odds change closer to the fight, because I think we're going to get much closer to even money personally. But you got yourself a pick, first contentious pick of the night right there, folks. All right, let's cut to the next one right here. All right, AJ, Justin Tafa, he listen, it's in Perth. All right, I get it, but he made it to another main event, or another main card, I should say, excuse me. He's made it to the spotlight again. And look at his opponent, man, Louis Sutherland. Be honest with me. Did you know anything about Louis Sutherland prior to this matchup?
No, not at all.
No,
There, you had to go look him up.
None of us did. Nobody did, right? This is like a PFL, Bellator guy, regional scene guy. But the Vanilla Gorilla, Louis Sutherland, man, is, believe it or not, priced minus 104. You know, you would think that you come in here and you're a big plus 300 dog or whatever to the bad man, Justin Tafa. But it just goes to show, man, both of these fighters, they're coming off of a loss right now. Unproven is Sutherland. Justin Tafa is just inconsistent, realistically, right here. It's really difficult to get behind them. So I want to start this by saying I'm generally in the camp of I want to fade the Tafa brothers at this point right here. I think that they are really cool. And I think that that's the problem, is they're so cool that we can't get a good read on the actual fight style in the matchups right here. So, AJ, let's break it down. Should he be a minus 120 favorite against Louis Sutherland for, I'm sure, the minimal amount of tape you were able to find on him?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yes, Justin Tafa should be the favorite, even with all the inconsistencies and the lack of output we've seen, all the problems we've seen with Justin Tafa. Yeah, I do think, especially seeing what Sutherland has done and who he's been fighting, I think he's going to be able to, or Justin Tafa, excuse me, he's going to be able to outclass the level that Sutherland takes. And hey, if that's not the case, man, I'll be eating some crow here next week.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too, right? I think just like if you look at experience, if you look at strength of schedule, resume, all that, like Justin Tafa should win this fight. But that's why I have to pump brakes and be like, okay. But like I've thought that many a time, and that's just not how it worked out. Look at Taliesin Teixeira, for an example, right? You're coming off of a 35-second knockout where he just step in an elbow and he crumbled you. So now I have to start thinking about durability, right? When I watch Louis Sutherland, long range striker, right? Like, look, he got good shovel shots, big overhands, right? A nice right hand pistol down the pipe, like nice, right? I would say maybe Justin Tafa is probably a little faster. I think he probably has a little speed edge. But the thing about Sutherland is he's going to maintain that power and that like little sense of quickness throughout all three rounds, right? Justin Tafa, on the other hand, after the first round, for sure, he just starts loading up on one big shot. So realistically, this is the only read that I have here. Louis Sutherland, who he's lost to on the come up to this point right here, it's guys who grapple him. In a purely striking matchup, he's putting dudes down. And people are saying, like, hey, this guy's a problem. If it's standing only, he's an issue, right? Justin Tafa is not going to wrestle him. So my anticipation is Louis Sutherland puts a pace on him. He hits the button, gets that durability question out of there, and gets a quick finish, or he walks into something. Because we know if there's one thing that Justin Tafa is really, really good at, it's step back counters. It's pull counters. It's all day. So I think someone's getting knocked out, and it's either going to be the guy with the aggression or the guy getting countered with his own aggression. I don't know. What do you see?
What I see is you take the under on this one, folks, because I'm with Derick, right? Either Justin Tafa is going to let Louis Sutherland walk him down like Louis Sutherland has been used to, throwing punches, getting going, and counter him, knock out real quick, or Louis Sutherland's just going to steamroll him, and the aura of the bad man is gone forever. And really, like, that's what both fighters need to do. And there's no other real option right here. And it lays it out because I agree, Justin Tafa is not going to be shooting takedowns. Louis Sutherland knows that. So he knows he's in store for a fun, bang out kind of fight. This is just storyline all day, man, and a lot of fun. Literally the one note I have on here is slugfest on deck because I do not see this one going past the second round.
Now there is one path. Louis Sutherland, in a couple of early fights, has been a clincher, been a grappler, if you will, right? Not like trying to take you down necessarily, but just clinch you up against the cage. I can see Tafa just being like, I'll go back against the cage. It's cool, bro. And this gets extended for some dumb reason after that. But I like the play right there. I think it's as simple as that. I think if you don't really care about this matchup, just bet the under. 1.5 rounds was the total that I was tracking right here. And let's go ahead and let's see. I think they're at the top of the docket right here. Whoops. All right. So Justin Tafa, Louis Sutherland, plus 114 for under 1.5, minus 134 for over. Okay, so now I'm a little concerned slightly because I thought the under was the for sure play, but maybe they're seeing a little bit of what I'm seeing about getting it extended. I'm still gonna rock with the under. What do you think?
I'm still rocking the under. I can see what you're thinking with the pushing up against, especially because of how dangerous, and maybe not in the past, maybe not in the last couple of recent fights, but how dangerous Justin Tafa can be and how dangerous Sutherland is all around. So maybe I can see that. I like the under, Derick. And I know we were talking earlier where this and my initial thought was you fade the Tafa brothers right now. It's just not their mojo. It's not their vibe. But then I had a second thought, Derick, and I'm going contrarian on this one. I'm rocking with the bad man. I think the aura's coming back. I think I'm going with that first round KO. So I'm taking the under at 1.5.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Listen, I respect it. I'm fading the Tafa bros just for my own sanity right here. If I have to eat crow, so be it. But I'm willing to take a shot in the dark right here on the small underdog, Louis Sutherland. But then again, man, this could be like the biggest layup that Justin Tafa has gotten in quite some time. So that's your pick right there. Let's keep it pushing to the next one here. AJ, this is really interesting and kind of a quick turnaround right here if you look at it. But Neil Magny is matched up with Jake Matthews, right? Let me get it on the screen real quick. So the last fight, this is the second fight of 2025 for Neil Magny. He's coming off that really big knockout underdog victory against Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. But then you got a Jake Matthews who's coming off of a 3-fight win streak, and the names on this win streak is like eye-catching right here, man. Phil Rowe, Francisco Prado, and then you submitted Chidi and Jaquani, and you suffered like no damage in that fight right there. So like this dude is as fresh as pretty much that they come. Now, Neil Magny, though he's been a gatekeeper, he's been a guy that I think realistically you could say like, hey man, not always the easiest out and could make us some dog money. I don't know against Jake Matthews. I think Jake Matthews as a minus 400 favorite is probably the right line, unfortunately. As much as I like the Haitian sensation, what's your read on this matchup?
It's the right line, Derick. I mean, we got a 38-year-old Neil Magny, and nothing against Neil Magny because he is still very much a dog. And yes, he has been a gatekeeper for a long time. But the sport ends up catching up with you, and especially how we've seen him perform as of late. The younger, the faster, the more athletic guys, the guys who hit a little bit harder and have a little bit more snap usually tend to do better against Neil Magny. And that's everything that Jake Matthews has, man. This dude is sharp striking, crashes in with power, dangerous all around, like very technical. And it seems to be his moment as he's driving into this, has the momentum pushing him forward, where Neil Magny has continued to be that up and down style of fighter.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you look at the age on these guys as well, 38-year-old Neil Magny versus the young, some would say prime Jake Matthews, 31 years old. You got a boxer puncher versus a dude who's going to have to just win minutes and just jab and move. I don't think that there's going to be the wrestling or the grappling opportunity for Neil Magny in this matchup right here. So when you just take a look at the numbers, I think that this is going to come down to, again, I don't want to overuse this term, but a durability type situation right here. Is Neil Magny durable enough to be able to go 3 rounds with Jake Matthews, or do we see Jake Matthews, who has always been talk about how his boxing has improved so much? Can Jake Matthews go in there and find the knockout? Because Neil Magny, before this big knockout victory, you got starched twice by Michael Morales and Carlos Prates. Those are some powerful guys right there. So you can't compare apples to oranges, but I think that there's something to think about when it comes down to a knockout play. What do you think?
There's something to think about, Derick, especially the TKO, right? Like just overwhelming violence from the Jake Matthews corner. Get a slip happens, you push him up against the cage, you get a takedown some way. Jake Matthews doesn't necessarily have the athletic prowess or the acclaim that a Carlos Prates or a Michael Morales does. So talking about how he got stiffed before, Jake Matthews is almost right there. So it can happen. It's there. But I see a lot more of that pressure style of violence coming out for him. Just not letting Neil Magny breathe, not giving him space to run away and work that range game that Neil Magny's going to want to implement. That's how I see Jake Matthews getting this one done, man. Just absolute pressure and violence.
We'll see too, though, man. I want to see what that calf kick looks like. That calf kick versus potentially getting countered off of the calf kick for Jake Matthews. We'll see where that comes into play. I think this one's pretty simple, though. I think the pick right here, it's consensus. The Celtic kid, Jake Matthews, he should get the job done. He's a massive favorite. I wouldn't really throw this in as a bet per se across the board, but I do think the one thing that is interesting is, again, what's the decision that you make? I think over. When I wrote down in my notes, I wrote down over, so I'm going to stick with it. I'll go over the 2.5 at -140. I just think that there's something there with that under. I think that can hit. You seen it the same way?
I was instantly seeing the over, Derek. That's right where my mind is going. It's a minus for a reason, and it's actually pretty close. So you're getting good value from it. The only thing I think, because I'm thinking about that under, Derek, is just shit pops off in that first round, and the speed and the violence is too much. And that's why Jake Matthews is a -400 favorite. So it's there. So I don't know if I like it at 2.5, but I'm taking the over.
Yeah, I'll take the over on this one. Keep it simple, right? Let's not overcomplicate the process right here. And let's go ahead and let's keep it rolling for our next one right here, man. All right, listen, this has some stakes right here for sure. Jack Jenkins, Ramon Taveras, and this is a return to form for Jack Jenkins, who's actually coming back off of a pretty nasty medical layoff. Legit, he fought Gabriel Santos in a fight that was back and forth, competitive. He dropped him early, but he ended up losing that via submission and fractured his thyroid cartilage. Now, AJ, I am no doctor, but that does not sound good. He was out for a while. He said that there was some real issues where, like, if this was like a couple centimeters the wrong way or something like that, like that was life-threatening or whatever the case may be. Go look it up, folks, if you're actually interested about the story. So you got something to prove, but you probably got some lingering psychological issues in the back of your head. And then you got a Ramon Taveras who is just a mean southpaw in-your-face boxer, bro. It's a guy who I honestly, in his run, Cortavius Romeus, Surrey City, and Davy Grant, I bet against them on all of those ones. And of course, he's won 2 of the 3 right there, right? So this is a guy I don't have a great read on, and I'm interested to know what stands out about Ramon Taveras specifically in this matchup for you.
Specifically in this matchup, Derek, is his willingness to sit in the pocket and land more damage. Ramon Taveras has an interesting knack of being able to get the best out of those exchanges, right? If you're just sitting there with Ramon Taveras, you're playing the point game and you're just teeing off, not being hit, right, countering and evading, you're going to do very, very well. But the second you keep your front foot in that tire, Ramon Taveras has a way of landing that last shot and really making an impact. And if he's able to do that against a very, very dangerous Jack Jenkins, it might bring up some of those reservations he's had because of what the stuff he's done in the past.
Potentially, for sure, right? And I think it's more of like, you grab his neck or something like that. You start to try to strangle him. He'll be like, oh, what's going on here? But yeah, I think when it comes down to foot in the tire boxing match, that's Ramon Taveras' specialty, which is why I think Jack Jenkins, when you take a look at the actual numbers right here, -295 favorite, +220 comeback for Taveras, which I think is fair. And the reason why is because when I watch Jack Jenkins, aside from his spectacular boxing himself that I've been a fan of, his body work and all that good stuff, Taveras has good body work too. He just has more weapons, realistically, right? You don't really see Taveras throw many kicks. Not a big kicker, right? Like literally, he loves to get in there and just throw hands, which I respect. Like I love it. But the calf kick for Jack Jenkins, the check hook circling off, just mixing things up, dropping people with head kicks and all that good stuff. I think that's going to make this fight really interesting because Taveras, the whole entire battle is similar to one of the matchups that we just broke down. You're going to have to crush space. Like Charlie Campbell, Tom Nolan. You're going to have to crush space, get in his face, and let's see how Jack Jenkins can respond for 15 minutes of this dude in your face. But what if you're going to say, like, all right, I can see a path where Ramon Taveras wins this fight. What exactly is that path aside from just purely outboxing him?
You're gonna have to stop the movement that Jack Jenkins presents. One of the things I like most that Jenkins does is he's cutting angles early, right? Mm-hmm. He's working you and corralling you as you're trying to walk him down. very good at cutting angles, and it works towards his counters, and it works to the boxing you're talking about. But if Ramon Taveras is able to push him up against the cage, right, cut off his cutting off of your angles, and then really start to work there and to kind of force Jack Jenkins into a dog style of fight, that's really what it's going to be. But the key is going to be keeping that outside foot, keeping the momentum, and really cutting those angles and corralling Jenkins inside. Yeah,
man. Similar output for both of these fighters too. About 4.5 significant strikes landed, per minute. I think the biggest key right here is, and it's similar themes right here, right? But it's like the profile for Jack Jenkins is kind of like a minute winning profile. For Taveras, it's big moments, which can swing around, which can swing the outcome of a fight right here. But again, AJ, I'm going to keep this one pretty short and sweet. I think that these are two studs right here. The medical layoff for Jack Jenkins is something. It's something to think about, but not enough for me to not pick him. So I'm going to go with Jack Jenkins right here. I have it down here as a consensus pick. So the final question on this one is when we look at Jack Jenkins. Sorry, let me get that one. There it is. When we look at Jack Jenkins, Ramon Taveras, and we look at a total right here, I am smashing over 2.5 rounds at -185. I really like that line. What do you think?
I'm right there with you, Derick. The only other one I was thinking of was Jack Jenkins by points plus 145. Good money right there, but you have to be convinced in that decision. And with how wild, dangerous, and powerful both these fighters are, I'm not completely sold. So I'm with you. I'm smashing that over.
Yeah. And check your books, right? On this book that I'm looking at right here, Jack Jenkins by points plus 125, Ramon Taveras by points plus 400. Something to think about because he's been squeaking them out. You know what I mean? So let's see what happens. Let's see who gets the hometown love, if you will. But that is your consensus pick right there. All right, AJ, we are smashing through this one, but we have made it to the co-main event, which was actually a switch up. This card bout order has been swapped around all week, but Jimmy Crute versus Ivan Erslan. And AJ, I'm not going to lie to you. When I first saw this matchup pop up, I thought nothing but great things about Ivan Erslan. I was like, oh, Ivan Erslan is about to knock this dude out. Jimmy Crute, oh no, right? But when you take a look, right, when we actually like zoom out and we say, let's do some film study, let's just review what recent history has shown us. Nothing good for either fighter, honestly, right? Like, yeah, you got the sub win for Jimmy Crute. That was like a gut check. I need this victory. Like this has to happen. Ivan Erslan, not the way that you want to start off your UFC tenure. 0-2, split to Iwan Kutalaba, and then you lost that decision to Navajo Sterling. Not bad names whatsoever. But Jimmy Crute is going to be an interesting puzzle to solve right here. How does Jimmy Crute's pressure, his grappling tenacity line up with the just massive power that Ivan Erslan has?
Yeah, that was what I was thinking, Derick. That's the big question right here. How do these two X factors meet up? And you hit the nail on the head. I think personally, Jimmy Crute's going to have an easier time getting to the inside, crushing that distance that he needs to crush because of the measured and explosive nature that Ivan Erslan presents, man. I mean, this dude, he likes to get to work, but he is very, very measured in the way he goes about it. He's seeing holes. He's trying to find those moments. And that whole time, Jimmy Crute's just going to be putting pressure on him. But then the second Erslan actually goes to engage that counter or engage that pressure that's being put upon him, because Erslan has power, man. If he catches it, he can hurt you. If he's able to engage in that moment, that's when Jimmy Crute's going to be able to cut those angles and actually get a hold of him and then really get to work right there. And that's where Jimmy Crute's going to have his best method of victory, is on the inside and not dealing with the damage and the power that Ivan Erslan presents.
And that is the paradox of this matchup right here, man. Because when I play it out a million times in my head, it almost makes it seem like Ivan Erslan wins if Jimmy Crute gasses out after the first round and can't finish him. Then Erslan wins, right? If Jimmy Crute can get past that first layer of takedown defense on Erslan, it could be over in that first round. So I think that a finish is definitely incoming for this matchup. All I will say is I think the total is 1.5. I'm taking the under on that one. I think that this is going to be quick and to the point. It could get extended. I could totally be wrong on that one, but I think this is a pretty clear read right here. Big boxer, power puncher, Ivan Erslan with better striking, more technical striking. Give it to him. Jimmy Crute, madness. When I think Jimmy Crute, I think Looney Tunes, and that might just be a weird comparison, AJ, but I just think goofy, wacky things are going to happen. What do you got?
That's only because he got the drop foot in that one fight and just refused to give up. No, I'm with you, man. I was looking at this, Derick, for the over and the under. Something's telling me to take the over. I mean, they're both minus money, at least when I'm looking on a FanDuel. So make sure you check your sportsbook here, folks, because I do think that the reckless nature or the tenacity that Jimmy Crute presents to that explosive power of Erslan, there's going to be some mix-em-ups that happen towards that end of that first round, and that's where we're going to see really things start working. Something's telling me to take the over. I'm going to stick with it. I like the over 1.5 right here.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. The way that I look at it is pretty clear. Like Erslan, his kryptonite thus far has just been pressure wrestlers, and you got yourself a pressure wrestler right here. So I'm not going to call this a bet, AJ. I'm going to call this a pick right here. I think that this is a good pick, but I would not wager money on it. If I was going to wager money, it would be a total. But clearly, me and AJ, controversial or contentious pick right there, over and under. I like the under. He'll take the over. May the best man win. But you do have a consensus pick. And Jimmy the Brute Crute right there. All right, man. Now, folks, for the moment that we've all been waiting for, this is the main event. All right, brother, let's talk about it. The Black Jag, Carlos Ulberg, is looking to really put city kickboxing back in prominence, back in the spotlight. Realistically, though, man, this is a tough matchup. Dominick Reyes is just off and on, man, off and on. But you see, if there's one thing that's consistent, is the touch of death is there at all times for both of these fighters, really. But I would say more for Dominick Reyes. Now, when I think of Carlos Ulberg, I'm not like the most impressed. Yeah, you rattle off. Look at that win streak, right? Like massive. But I'm not the most impressed in the sense of like, there's been a couple of those fights where it's like you don't look like you're the guy, you know what I mean? You look chiseled like you're an Abercrombie model or whatever, but like, do you look like the guy when it comes down to the skill set? Because a lot of it is cruising to these decisions. Now, don't get me wrong, that's really the last two matchups, but once the opposition stepped up, Volkan Ozdemir, Jan Blachowicz, now we're cruising to some kind of like boring-ish decisions. Dominick Reyes, you know it's going to be an exciting fight, win, lose, or draw. You know, no matter how it goes, someone's probably going to get knocked out, which he has not seen the cards since John Jones, since the fight that everyone argues that he won, but he lost. He got robbed, whatever the case may be. All right, man, talk to the people. Minus 265 is the Black Jag, plus 200 comeback for Dominick Reyes. How you feel about the line?
I like the line, Derick. I like the line. A lot of people aren't giving Dominick Reyes respect, and they haven't been, right? Since he dropped the arguable robbery to John Jones, and then the next three fights after that, a lot of people have been looking at Dominick Reyes sideways. Even with his impressive last three fights, man, a lot of people still think he was a has-been or a never was. So I think that's what goes into a lot of the plus 200 we're seeing out here for Dominick Reyes. But man, he's nothing to sleep on. I was the whole time you're thinking, I was trying to remember the saying, right? Like it's precision beats power and timing beats speed. Dominick Reyes has this, I don't want to say awkward timing, but it's offbeat, right? And that's one of the reasons he's still able to carry that knockout power into the career he has, especially at 35 and with all the fights on his record. He hits you when you're not ready for it, right? Like you're so used to sparring, you're so used to timing that things work, and you know when things are going to be coming at you. Dominick Reyes is just like a half second before or a half second after that, and that's when he's able to tag you up. And that's one of the interesting things, because when you were talking about Carlos Ulberg and him cruising to those decisions, he's only able to do that because he's very, very technical. Very gifted, very skilled, and able to play that technical game. Well, you do that with Dominick Reyes. Now your technique is off half a second. You're going to sleep. That's the kind of fight that he provides right here, man. This is an interesting one, because I agree with the odds, but I can see where Dominick Reyes should be a lot closer, if not even money. Like this is a very, very close fight right here.
This just makes me wonder, can Dominick Reyes, and this is a completely different type of style right here, but can he play the Sean Strickland role? And what I mean by that is, I think with Carlos Ulberg, it's very similar to Israel Adesanya, where it's like a balance thing, man. When you got a guy pressuring you too much, they just go off balanced, right? And now everything, because I don't think that they really practice fundamental boxing there. It's not dips and weaves and ducks and pulls. It's just a lot of just like lean backs, you know what I mean? Stuff like that, right? So I think if Dominick Reyes can go ahead and create chaos, there's a much better chance than if he tries to make this really technical fight, because he's got the big rear hand and the head kick. That's Dominick Reyes special right there. Ulberg, he's going to check left hook 1 trillion times in this fight. Calf kick, feint, and go, right? Like that's going to be the matchup in essence. I don't see any wrestling coming out of Dominick Reyes necessarily. I just wonder who's whose leg is getting chewed up, right? Because I think Ulberg is going to work those legs, and he's going to try to take away that mobility of Dom Reyes and then just point his way to a victory. I would love to see a knockout, and I really do think the way Reyes is aggressive, we can see a knockout here, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like, oh, another Carlos Ulberg decision. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't be surprised by it, Derick. I had the same notes, man. Carlos Ulberg got to use that step off left hand, man. Beautiful counter right there, and he used it against everybody. So we're going to be seeing that shot, right? Work the combos, work the low kicks. That's the way to cruise his victory. And I can see a knockout happening for either, man. But if you're Dominick Reyes, man, the best thing to do is let Carlos Ulberg think he has that timing and then use that aggression. Hopefully he doesn't use it against you, but use that aggression to close the distance and really start to work. I don't know about a takedown, but I can see Dominick Reyes controlling Carlos Ulberg against the fence, just pushing him up there and working that, maybe not just the dirty boxing, but some pressure more than anything else, just to really put something against a young kid. Although honestly, Derick, I like Carlos Ulberg. I like his odds on this fight. 7 times out of 10 right here. I think he's going to do well. It's just, can he show that he's better than the average Joe out there against Dominick Reyes?
Yeah, man, I like Ulberg. So let's let the cat out the bag right here. Ulberg is the pick, 100%. Now, when it comes down to betting, I don't know how you feel about this. This is my personal take. I think it's a little too steep to bet Carlos Ulberg just at like pure money line value right here. I would wait until you get some live numbers. Let's see how Dominick Reyes comes out. And if it shrinks below minus 220, maybe minus 200 or lower, we're all in. We're live betting all day long. But for this number right here, I think it's a good pick right here. Maybe throw it in a parlay to juice it up a bit, but I think Carlos Ulberg is the play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think Carlos Ulberg play. I think it's too steep at his money line, Derick, but there's a minus 125 KO prop for Carlos Ulberg on FanDuel. Are you even considering sniffing that, or are you working like the overs and unders right here?
I like the knockout. What I like more is, let me see. No, this will look at the given. Goes the distance, plus 285 for yes, minus 375 for no. That's too steep right there. So yeah, I would consider taking that minus 140 for Ulberg TKO. But then again, just bet it live, and if get them down to minus 200 or so, and you don't have to worry about any of that. You just know you got a high confidence pick right here in Carlos Ulberg. I don't think this is the one. But I think after this fight, depending on if you do get the championship fight or not, or if you have to fight like another number one contender, because you know how it goes. This like theoretically should be a number one contender. But I don't know. I think Carlos Ulberg's days are numbered. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'll put some respect. That's the pick for the time being. All right, folks. That is your UFC Perth main card. But, you know, the fun is not done yet. We need to go ahead and make a quick transition here, AJ, to the most acclaimed portion of the program right here. Listen, we gave you picks. We ran through the entire main card, but now we have some confidence plays here for you. Best bets of the week. And AJ, I'm going to let you go ahead and kick it off with yours while I start bringing it up on the big screen. Talk to the people, brother. What do you got?
Yes, sir. This week, we're rocking in the women's bantamweight division, folks. Luana Carolina versus Michelle Montague, and we're going over 2.5. I know you hear it all the time. Oh, women's fight over 2.5. Guess what? We're at minus 150, right? We were just talking about in the last fight where a good play is minus 200 and under. The same thing right here. You get a women's bantamweight fight at over 2.5. Anything better than minus 250, that's a smash spot for me all day long, right? You got the UFC debutante Montague fighting against, who's a very, very dangerous submission artist, but she hasn't faced the skill of Carolina, and especially the skill that Carolina has faced, right? There's a very talented fighter going against her, and Carolina has a really polished her style through the fire as of late, right? Came onto the scene, not too much acclaim. Now, man, she does get a lot of respect, especially with the hardcores. Even though the odds makers are still doubting her, I like Carolina in an upset right here. But if she happens to finish the fight, it's going to be later in the rounds. So there's always a concern for Montague getting the early finish. But really, man, with the dominance that Carolina's shown and the grit and the power and the determination to better her game, I see this one going past the over 2.5, cashing in, like I said, minus 2 or minus 150. Oh, women's fight over 2.5. I mean, that's all you really got to say. I gave you a little extra, but what do you think, Derick?
I like that right there, and I'm actually curious to know what you think. If you take the goes the distance ticket at minus 130, is that something you would consider as well, or do you? I like over 2.5. It gives you room for any madness to happen, and you still got a good ticket price.
I like the over 2.5. What worries me is Carolina has really been finishing her fighters like in that last minute of the entire fight. So I don't really like it to goes to finish. So and I mean, with how dangerous Montag is in submissions, man, that can always happen, especially when people get tired. You get that late third round choke out. I can see this fight ending. So I like that 2.5.
All right. Well, that's a best bet for you folks. Now let me go ahead and turn over to mine. Now I put a lot of thought into this one right here, and I found none other than AJ. You know, it's my boy right here. Where is he at? Where is he at? There we go. Jamie Malaki. He's against Rolando Bedoya right here. And you're going to see, first things first, man, somebody needs a victory right here, brother. Listen, 0-3 already for Bedoya, 0-2 for Malarkey. But Malarkey is time-tested. Bedoya, he needs to prove it. So I think he's going to be coming for life or death in this matchup right here, because I think you get cut if you get another loss right here. I'm actually surprised that you still get another shot. But my best bet here, folks, is for this fight to go the over. Malarkey versus Bedoya, over 2.5 rounds at -175. This is a volume matchup. Two durable dudes right here that they've gone in deep waters against boxers. All of the losses for Bedoya, it's all decision losses right there. So you know the man is time tested. Malarkey's last 3 wins are via decision. He hasn't won via finish since 2021, and that was against Devontae Smith. And AJ, I meant to ask you too. Do you remember what happened to him? What happened to Devontae Smith? I guess that's a conversation for another time. Expect feints, jabs, clinch breaks, and a lot of movement in this matchup right here. But I don't see a finish happening. I see two durable dudes right here. Even though Malarkey, it hasn't looked great for his durability, but I don't think Bedoya is the guy that finishes him, even with a little bit more urgency. So over 2.5 at -175 is your best bet. Clock it. And AJ, how you see that one?
I like that one, Derick. Actually, you beat me to the punch. You submitted your stuff early. That was the one I had. That was asterisk right there, because I agree with you. I don't think Bedoya is the dog to get it done, but it's going to be a fun fight regardless anytime Malarkey's in the cage.
That's it. All right, folks. Now let's move on over, AJ, to our story of the week. I don't know if you've been keeping track at all, but there hasn't been much going down, you know what I mean, in just like the MMA world, like realistically. There hasn't. So I was like, all right, I was really digging. I was like, okay, you got Conor McGregor, president, you know, he wants to fight at the White House, all the nonsense that like nobody cares about, right? But then when you take like a real like look at what's the future of the UFC right now, what's something that's going to get the people going, what's something that's going to be exciting. And I think the only thing that you could talk about on that one is going to be the Leon Edwards situation right here. So Leon Edwards, he just got booked at Madison Square Garden for UFC 322. And I was trying to pull it up on Next MMA. They don't even have it up on Next MMA yet. So let me go ahead and see if I could find UFC 322. I don't think they don't got it up for, they got it, fine. Okay, so AJ, I'm pulling up the screen right here. You got Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev, welterweight title. Valentina Shevchenko versus Wei Li. Wei Li stepping up to try to win flyweight gold. And then Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. All right, where did we go here, man? You got a former champion of Leon Edwards versus the Fighting Nerds, Carlos Prates, who was coming off of that big loss. He bounced back, got another finish, like right on. But this matters because look at this. Edwards, he's on a little bit of a skid right here. A loss against Carlos Prates, in essence, ensure isn't maybe the right word, but at welterweight, bro, you're not getting another title shot anytime soon if you lose. What does he need to do here? He needs to do something stunning, in my opinion, to really make this opportunity count. Because I think this is a lose-lose personally.
I think this is a lose-lose, Derick. And honestly, unfortunately for Leon Edwards, I don't think there's anything he can do to get back in the good graces of the UFC. They hate him. They absolutely hate him. Look how long it took him to get the title shot. You drop this one to Prates. He is absolutely taking everything from you. And in fact, when I was looking at this, whether you have Islam that can make it to the fight or Jack Della Maddalena, either one of them drop out. Guess whose phone's not ringing? It's not going to be Leon Edwards out there, man. They're calling Carlos Prates up. So this is an absolute lose-lose for Leon Edwards. The only way he can do right, stunning KO, dog walk Carlos Prates out there. Round 1, get him out early and talk as much shit as you want, because that's the only way possible, and I don't see that happening, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, they're calling Prates, they're calling Ian Gary, Shavkat, you know, they probably calling everybody but Leon Edwards. That's terrible, man. Sean Brady, you know what I mean? That's terrible right here. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what he needs to do, because the thing that I'm looking at here is, in a 3-rounder, like, the big question is, does Leon Edwards' style even give him a real shot to win this fight? Obviously, you don't see any odds here because the fight's so far out, but with his style against Prates, I think it's just going to be a lot of retreating, a lot of trying to counter strike against Prates, and I think Prates chews him up, man.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, the only way for Leon Edwards to really make an impact right here is to catch Carlos Prates being reckless. And good thing, because Carlos Prates is reckless, so he's going to have those entries, but we haven't seen Leon Edwards take advantage of them until it's way too late, until you've already lost 3 or 4 rounds. Then he really starts to get to work. But until then, like, this dude needs to jump off the fight right away. And we just haven't seen that in how long has Leon Edwards been fighting? Quick math, almost 35 fights
since 2014 in the UFC. You know what I mean? It's over 10 years in the UFC, and you did it, right? You got the, I mean, listen, your name is in the record books forever. Your name is in history forever, the way you're able to stop the Kamaru Usman reign, but short-lived after that, especially when you look, Usman twice, Kobe Covington, he lost to Bilal. Like, history, I don't think is going to reflect very great. I don't think they're going to say that he was a great champion. And I don't say that disrespectfully. It's just, you know, eras, right? You know, you look at this new crop, the Sean Brady, the Shavkat, the Ian Gary, the Prates, all the guys. I think they're going to be like, oh, you were that in-between era before it got really good again. So we'll see what happens. I just hope that is a good fight, you know, simple as that. But folks, that is your UFC Perth story of the week, I suppose. Again, I try to find something good for you guys, but there really wasn't much. That's all that we got for you, folks. I don't really got anything else to promote here on the back end. Catch us next week. What do we got? UFC 320. AJ, we got early predictions right here, brother. Do we see and new? Do we see and still? We haven't broken down the film yet, but what's our gut feeling?
Haven't broken down the film yet, Derick. I'm rocking and still. I know it's contrary to where I was going before, but I like the and still, at least for right now. We'll leave a little ledge hanger, but what do you think?
I said Ankalaev would be the guy far before he was the guy, and that's not changing anytime soon here, man. I think that he has a style that honestly I don't think the fans like personally. I think people would hate that he's the champion. I just think that you got to find a guy that could beat him. And if Alex Paeta, they say that, you know, those injuries and all that good stuff, I got to break down some film. But if nothing changes drastically from the last fight, I don't see how the result changes much. So, folks, stay tuned for that. That's it for us. Until next time. Peace.